So this is going to look a little bit weird at times because I am on two devices streaming on Facebook and Instagram. But I wanted to jump on with you today and talk about three things that a lot of us are doing every day, myself included. Less so now, but in the past, these were things that I was doing too that have a really big impact on our thyroid. And a lot of the times, the thyroid is one of those organs in the body that is responsible for many things that we do and can be the reason that we have a lot of the symptoms that we have. So, if you've been struggling with anything like low energy, if your hands and feet are cold all of the time, or if you're cold all of the time, all over, and if weight is something that's been a challenge, a lot of the clients that I work with have been, eating really healthy for quite a while and exercising, and they're still finding they either can't lose the weight that they'd put on or they're actually gaining weight, even though they're doing all these healthy things every day. And so today we're going to talk about three things that we don't even consider and that often aren't brought to our attention when we go in to get thyroid blood work done if we think there's a problem. And the thing with thyroid blood work, that it's something that I talk about a lot of the times, is that when we go for this blood work, the numbers that come back, we're compared to a reference range. So we're compared to a scale of numbers that are considered by the medical profession to be normal. But if you still have symptoms, even though you have perfect blood work, your thyroid numbers are in perfect range according to this blood work measurement system, there's still something that's going on. And this is something that we still do need to address. And that's where, I use quantum nutrition testing and at Aligned Natural Health. That's a tool that we use to figure out what's going on in the body. And if the thyroid still has weakness or needs support, you're going to still have symptoms even though your blood work is perfect, right? So today we're just going to look at three things that can be causing that. But ultimately, if you've been struggling with symptoms for a while, maybe you haven't had any sort of resolution. In the past, that was me. I went to the doctor because I was gaining weight and I couldn't figure out why. I was exercising all of the time. I was eating really healthy. I was exhausted. My hair was falling out. I was cold all of the time. And the doctor said, yeah, we'll send you for blood work, which is what they're supposed to do. This is no blame on the doctors. They just don't know what to do when the numbers come back and say to them, your thyroid is fine. Your thyroid blood work is normal. So if this is something that you're dealing with, grab the link in my bio or send me a message. I'd love to chat with you more about this and see if using quantum nutrition testing, we could help you figure out what's really the cause of the symptoms you're dealing with. So like I said, today we're going to talk about three things that are often not considered when it comes to thyroid health. And they're things that a lot of the time, most of us are doing every single day. So in terms of things we're consuming, so this is going to be an interesting one for a lot of people. For some people, it might not be a surprise, but water. Water is a really big contributor to the issues that we can have with thyroid, especially if you're drinking tap water. And it's not the water itself that's the problem, it's the chemicals that are within our tap water. They put chlorine in our tap water and they put fluoride as well. Chlorine has to be there. If we weren't putting this in there to kill off, the bacteria that's in there, some of the viruses that would be in our tap water, we would be really sick. So it's important for them to put chlorine in our tap water, but the chlorine still is going to have an impact on our body. And if you remember back to, I want to say grade 11, chemistry class in high school, where we looked at the periodic table of elements, iodine was on there. And iodine is a really important element when it comes to thyroid health. We have two thyroid hormones in our bodies that our body creates. So we have T4, which is what the body creates naturally. And then that T4 is converted into T3 in the liver. T3 is the active thyroid hormone that our body uses. So T3 and T4, the 3 and the 4 both refer to iodine. T3, so there's a T in the middle, and there's 3 iodine molecules attached to that tyrosine molecule in the middle. T4 has 1 tyrosine in the middle and 4 iodine molecules. And if we don't have enough iodine, the body's not going to be able to produce thyroid hormone properly. And this is what's going to cause a lot of the problems that we're having. But what happens, what impacts the iodine? What impacts our body's ability to make these hormones properly? And chlorine is a really big one. And it's one that we often don't consider. But if you remember, as I said, to, high school science class where you would look at the periodic table of elements, iodine is in column 17. And anything that's in the same column can replace iodine in the body. That includes chlorine, that includes fluoride, that includes bromine. And these are things that we come in contact with every day. Like I said, in our drinking water is a really big source of this if you're drinking tap water. And if you're not drinking tap water, if you're drinking distilled water or reverse osmosis water, this will be a good way to reduce the amount of chlorine that's coming into your system. But there still are going to be other ways that we're going to come in contact with this. Chlorine is bleach, right? So when it comes to female care products, think about pads, think about tampons, think about where you're putting those in your body, in contact with our hormones or areas of our body that's responsible for producing hormones. And those are bleached. If your tampons and your pads are white, they have been bleached. That means that there is chlorine in those products. So this is another source where we're going to come in contact with chlorine. Also, in your house, if you're using reverse osmosis, as I said, and distilled water, distilled is my favorite, reverse osmosis is also a very good one. If you're using these to reduce the chlorine and reduce the chemicals that you're coming in contact with, that's amazing. But then you're still going to come in contact with chlorine in your shower, unless you have a whole home system for your water. And when we're showering, we're breathing it in. It's becoming vapor in the shower because it's warm, because it's hot in the shower. So then we're breathing the chlorine in. And so this is an area where we actually can take on 7 times more chlorine showering in a shower that's got water with chlorine in it. That's a lot of chlorines. So this is another area where we're coming in contact with chlorine. And so a thing we can do here, a lot of the times when clients come to me and they're having issues with weight or with energy and we test the body, it's always about testing the body. You don't want to just guess and just start taking things because that can lead to taking a whole bunch of things that your body doesn't need. But when we test and find that the body actually needs iodine, needs help with thyroid, it's important to get the iodine back in there because we are still going to come in contact with chlorine. We are still going to come in contact with the chemicals that are going to compete in the body for the thyroid hormone. So we want to make sure that we're getting enough iodine in the system that it has a chance that we'll actually be able to get what our body needs. So that's number 1. The thing that competes with thyroid is going to be chemicals, and chlorine is the biggest one that we commonly see. So number 2, we're going to talk about radiation. And radiation is one that a lot of the times people don't even consider, and myself as well in the past. I was having trouble with adrenal stuff, and if your thyroid is not doing well, if your adrenals are not doing well, either of them will lean on the other for support. So I was having trouble with my adrenals. They were underperforming, and so they were leaning on my thyroid for backup support. And so then it's again asking the question of why. Why are these organs not functioning properly? And for me, radiation was making my adrenals exhausted. And that was coming from radiation. I already said that. That was coming from radiation. And why is this happening? Because a lot of us are so much more connected than we used to be. I went back to school in 2019, I believe, and I was on the computer all day long. I'm on the computer all day long now working with clients. I have a cell phone. I have Wi-Fi in my house. The light bulbs in our homes often have Wi-Fi or have radiation that they're giving off. Anytime anything is warm, if you're charging your phone and you're talking on it, if you're using earpods, I wanted to call them AirPods. Are they AirPods? If you're using AirPods, those are going to give off radiation. Any wireless device that you're using, wireless headsets, these are all going to give off radiation. And for me, as I've talked about this in the group before, I used to wear a Fitbit, and I stopped wearing it when I realized that radiation was impacting my adrenals, which was ultimately causing a bunch of symptoms for me. I wasn't sleeping well. I was exhausted all the time. My hair was falling out in handfuls in the shower. It was crazy. And I had weight that I just couldn't get rid of. Even though, I was eating healthy, it still wouldn't move for me. And so when I realized that radiation was a problem that I was dealing with, that was impacting my adrenals, that was impacting my thyroid, which ultimately will cascade and impact all of the other endocrine hormones. So all of the other like sex hormones in your body, your pineal, your pituitary, your hypothalamus, all of these glands in your body are going to be impacted if your thyroid and your adrenals are not functioning properly. So radiation is a really big one here. And ways that we can make the radiation less of an impact: spending less time on your phone as much as possible. For me, I didn't have AirPods. People always laugh at me because I get on Zooms and I got on podcasts with the old school plug-in headphones. They're not perfect, but they're going to give you less radiation exposure than the wireless ones. I took off my Fitbit. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. I know for a lot of people, this was a really hard decision for me because I don't want to say addicted, but maybe I was so used to being able to look at my steps every day, being able to track my sleep every night, being able to see what my heart rate was all the time. This can be something can become addicting and something that we rely on all the time. But when you realize that, it's impacting your quality of life, it's impacting your hormones and your body, ultimately, it's a decision. Do you want to keep wearing that or do you want to take it off? So for radiation, that would be my suggestion. Limit screen time, especially in the evening before going to bed. Talk on your phone, either on speakerphone or using plug-in headphones as much as possible. And then the wireless devices, maybe not having them on all of the time. And then the third thing that has an impact on thyroid that we often don't consider is going to be fragrances. I used to be the kind of person who, I liked smelling good. I would leave the house and, spritz some cologne or some perfume on myself pretty much every time I left the house. It was something that I had pride in, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you think about that, we have endocrine disrupting chemicals in our environment, in our homes, in our bathrooms, in our personal care products, in so many things we come in contact with. And fragrances are a really big one here. So it's going to have chemicals in it that's going to impact the way your body functions. It's going to make your hormones not function the way that they should be, and your system is not going to work properly. And if you think about that, they're endocrine disrupting chemicals, and where are we spraying them? On our thyroid, right? So this is going to have a really big impact on the body as well. So if you're looking to, figure out what's going on with your body, find out what the causes are of the symptoms that you're dealing with, reach out. You can grab the link in my bio and connect with us. You can book a free discovery call and we'll talk about what's going on and what the next best steps are. But ultimately, when you think about throughout your day, where are ways that I can limit or start to reduce the amount of toxic exposure that I'm coming in contact with? Because we live in a day and age where we're going to be exposed to toxins all the time. So if we can work on minimizing them or reducing them at all, it's going to be beneficial for us overall. When it comes to water, like I said, reverse osmosis or distilled are my favorites. If nothing else, a Brita system. A Brita filter is kind of the least expensive way that you can go with filtering your water. It's a good first step. Then when it comes to the radiation, again, keep radiation away from your head as much as possible. So that's going to be plugging in headphones or going on speakerphone. Keeping radiation out of the bedroom is another really good example or really good suggestion that I have for people, especially if you're struggling with sleep. And staying away from your screen a couple hours before bed is another good recommendation too. And then my last one was the perfumes. So the endocrine disrupting chemicals in perfumes. If you would like to smell good throughout the day, you still can. There's a really good alternative, and that's going to be essential oils. So you can get really nice fragrances through essential oils. They're going to be much more natural. They're not going to contain the chemicals that are going to impact your hormones, your thyroid, that are going to impact your system in the way that the chemical ones that we buy in the past would. And you can dab them, on your neck. You can dab them kind of wherever you want because they're not going to have as much of an impact on your system. So if this was helpful, let me know. I'm just trying to see. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, so it's hard to see comments. I can't see any comments on Instagram, but on Facebook, yeah, I have a comment from Sabrina. Thank you. My thyroid numbers always come back normal. My blood work always come back normal, but I have symptoms. And, family members who have had hormone issues in the past, that's going to be kind of a red flag for you too, right? To think, okay, this could be something that maybe from a genetic perspective, I may have more predisposition to this being a problem. But at the same time, genetics doesn't always need to dictate what's going to happen for you in the future. It's just can be kind of an eye opener to, okay, this is something that I need to consider. Thyroid issues, yeah, for me, they always came back normal. And it doesn't mean if your numbers are coming back normal on the reference range, they may be within that perfect range, but they may not be the right range for you, right? Ultimately, we need to make sure that our hormones and that everything that's coming back on our lab work, we don't take that as like the be all end all. If you still have symptoms, there's still a problem, right? So if you have any questions, reach out. You can message me or you can grab the link in my bio. We do help with this. We do quantum nutrition testing to figure out where in the body needs support. And then from that point, we're able to build custom personalized plans to help get your body back into balance, which ultimately is the key to making the symptoms go away for good. So hopefully you got some value from this. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day.